Live.
Testing. What's
Live.
wavy? It's your boy Moon back at it again with more college football content. And today we have World of College Football episode 2. That includes Cam Ward for Heisman. We got one thought for every Big Ten and Sun Belt team. And we also have the AP poll just dropped new visitors and new arrivals and much more coming on this episode dose of World of CFB. Sit back, relax, and enjoy yourself. This one is sponsored by DCFB Nation, your one-stop shop for college football 365. And make sure, my friend, you check out dcfbnation.com because you can find out all the latest, including articles that we have on our platform to help you stay in the loop with college football, unlike anything before. I got my guy behind the scenes helping me out today. Shout out to Governor of College Football. Follow on YouTube as well. I'll let some people get in. Put all your comments in the chat. I would love to interact with y'all throughout the episode as we get into number one. Miami went into Gainesville and blew into the swamp on Saturday night like a Category 5 storm, leaving Florida Gators fans battered, bruised, and just beat up. It was 41-17, and it was a complete dismantling. And the game was quite frankly over at halftime. Miami not only silenced the most notable Florida Gators crowd that we saw um, at his glory days, when Tim Tebow was there, Percy Harvin, just all the nostalgia that Florida in the swamp is. We didn't feel that on Saturday. And Miami came in swinging. I mean, the game started off close, you can say, but then ultimately it led to the next guy that I'm about to talk about making his emergence. Cam Ward for Heisman. Why, Moon? Well, did you just see what he did? He played with so much confidence that it felt like everybody else was moving slow and he was the one that was moving fast. Not like he was inner calm that we talk about in a poise that we talk about. When we interviewed Cam with the CFB Nation at ACC kickoff in Charlotte with the game, he talked to us about how he wanted to come back just to prove to himself that he made the right decision and that he has a lot left to prove on the FBS level. There's a lot of people that may not have known about Cam Ward over the course of this off season, even though we believe that there is no off season, but they are fully aware now. So let the Heisman campaign just get off and begin. I know it's going to be some people out there, especially Alabama fans, are saying Jalen Milroe, Jalen Milroe, Jalen Milroe. Say it again from the rooftops, Jalen Milroe again. There's gonna be some Boise State fans that say Ashton Genty. Did you see him break school records on day one? We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. But the guy most notable in the Heisman race right now, in my personal opinion, is Cam Ward because of the magnitude of what we're dealing with. Alabama fans, Jalen Milroe, Jalen Milroe. I get you, Bama fans. I get you. Just bear with me. And in the words of a famous movie that I love, stall me out, Debo. Stall me out. The first half was a blowout in this game. The second half was left a lot to be desired. And I know my 5 minutes is coming down to the end. So I'll start off by saying this. Cam Ward was special. 26 of 35. He only had one touchdown in the day. He had 385 yards passing. The one thing that I want to see Miami get better with, and the reason why I'm not about to crown them head and shoulders the best team in the ACC is this. They let Montrell Johnson rushed for over 100 yards on only 11 carries. Let that sink in. If you have a team like Georgia Tech that actually wants to run the football, that actually wants to control the pace, that wants to establish physicality, that is going to be a concern. Mark Fletcher from Miami did have solid 89 yards, 2 touchdowns in the day. Jacoby George went crazy in this matchup. But listen, Restrepo is the guy he's the guy for Cam Ward. He's going to continue to be the guy, and that's one of the things that I'm looking for. But no team is without their flaws. In Miami's deficiency, based on what I saw in week one, and I know it wasn't a lot that you could pick, but Miami's deficiency to me was the run defense. I want to see them shore that up. They didn't have Ruben Bain, so I put preface in saying that he left the game after the third play in scrimmage. So I can only grade them on a curve right now. But let the Cam Ward for Heisman campaign begin. Josh Berry, Milrow. What's wavy? It's your boy Moon. You tune in to World of College Football. Back at you again. Special shout out to our sponsor, SeatGeek. If you use the promo code TheCFB Nation, you can get $20 off your purchase on SeatGeek. College football season is here and it's not going nowhere anytime fast. That means that there's games galore, events to attend. You want to take your lady out to get something to eat, you know, go pop off to a game. You never know what you can do. Type in that promo code DCFB Nation on SeatGeek, $20 off. Who doesn't like to save some money? I know I do. Coming up next in the show, I have to keep it 100 with you. It was a very jam-packed week for me, so I got a chance to watch a lot of football. And I stayed home on the CFB Nation tour. Week 0, I was in Atlanta for the Cricket MEAC SWAC Kickoff Challenge. That was great. I also got a lot of work done. I was able to write an article, put out like a documentary style vlog project for us. And then also, Josh said he can't help himself. I get it. You saw Milrow go crazy. Did you see Ryan Williams? I'll let you ponder and think about that. But yeah, we didn't go anywhere, so we were idle, and I got a chance to catch up on a lot of football, including some Big Ten football in action. And this is a part in the show where I get the Big Ten some love because there was a lot of action that we got, including a team that really changed our perspectives. And we're going to have to, I know if you tune in to CFB Nation later on tonight, I know Lever KT and Nino are going to be talking about the USC Trojans and what they did on Sunday night in a game that was really, really good in Las Vegas. I know it did numbers as far as ratings, but that was just a really good game that we had. And it showcased that the Big Ten is what we thought the Big Ten was. My friend, we still got a lot of question marks. So it's your boy Mo. We about to give you one thought on every Big Ten team, and we're gonna go in alphabetical order. And this one is presented by the letter L, because if your team took an L this week, you're gonna have to hold it. Coming up first, Illinois. The main question for me for Illinois is the what if factor. Last year, they had so many injuries that I really felt bad for them. Like, I genuinely felt it in my heart that their season could have went so much better if they just didn't get penalized so much just by the football guys coming down on them with the hammer and saying, look, this person can't stay healthy. This person can't stay healthy. But this Illinois team that we saw this past weekend, I know it was early before the rest of the Big Ten teams played, but that Fighting Illini has a chance to write the script and flip it in a way that works in their favor. If they can avoid the injury bug, I look to see Caden Fagan, Luke Altmaier, who was playing with a lot of confidence, take over the show. And maybe a healthy Illinois team can really cause problems, especially next week. And they got a Kansas Jayhawks team that comes to town. They won 45-0 versus Western Illinois. Coming up next, Indiana. Kirk Cignetti took over the job, and now he's a new head guy in charge. This guy, Kirk, came over from the purple JMU Dukes, and he was able to load up in a transfer portal in a way that we really love to see in this new age of college football. Some people can't relate. Dabo. They finally notched their 5th win in 22 games. Indiana did. So clap it up for Indiana. We shout out to them for getting a win. But look, it all came because they ran the gosh darn football. In episode 1, I talked to you about the importance of running the gosh darn football. And they did that. The Hoosiers were victorious. 31-7 over FIU. They look to continue to train. Iowa coming up next. Hard to believe Hollywood is only 17. Yes, it is hard to believe. Just like it's hard to believe that the Iowa offense actually wants to pass the rock. That's what I'm looking at. Look, first and foremost, Iowa won 40-0 versus Illinois State. And you might look at the score and be like, oh, it's week 1. It doesn't matter. Iowa didn't even get ranked in the top 25 in the preseason. So why should we care? You should care because they did all of that noise behind your back and listen to you talk all about them, and they still say, "Hey, we're gonna score the most points that we did." They had three wide receivers that scored a touchdown. They had three receiving touchdowns all of last year. Let that sink in, people. Their defense is looking as stout as ever. I know it took them a little bit of time to get their mojo, but Iowa, I need to see this side of Iowa more often. Coming up next, the Terps. Lightning strikes early for the Terps because Billy Edwards Jr., this man looked explosive. They got a spark. And it's good to see Maryland with a little twinkle in their eyes. It's good to see Coach on the sidelines with the gray beard and everything, still looking like he got gas in the tank. It's good to see Maryland actually looking not like a middle of a pack team, and just more than that. That's what I'm excited to see. I'm looking for Maryland to keep the tempo high, keep the tempo high as you can, and I think that there will be a handful, especially if they keep scoring like this. Coming up next, Michigan, slow start, fast finish. Will Johnson gave the people what they needed to feel very comfortable at the end of this game in a 30-10 victory versus Fresno State. However, Michigan did start slow, and they gave us all of this talk in the offseason about how they were going to lean on Alex Orji as their starting quarterback, but that was not the case. In fact, it was a lot of head scratching, um, jaw itching, eyes going up. I'm like, what's going on for looking at Michigan against Fresno State? And I just think it's the growing pains of trying to figure out what the quarterback position really is for them. I would have loved. It's like Alex Orji. He has moments where he's just makes a spectacular play look easy, but he makes the easy play look hard. And then you get the flip side of the coin, the other quarterback that you have, and I'm looking at it like Michigan, their offense is going to have some time, but I want Michigan to continue to just be a smash mouth program. Once they shake off all the early cobwebs that they have in the early part of the season, they should be good. But their defense, led by Will Johnson and a plethora of others, looks to be very good. Let's talk about Michigan State because the headline that I have is potential and penalties. That's the thing that sticks out for me when I look at Michigan State's performance against a Florida Atlantic team that really pushed them to the limit, like a Rick Ross song. Yes, 16-10 was the score, and the game wasn't pretty, but it did show flashes that, dang, it can be fun for Michigan State if they just get their act together. They had 12 penalties in this game. They were one of the most frustrating teams to watch when it comes to penalties outside of what TCU, like on Friday night. But Aiden Child's potential is something that we should look at as the season progresses and see how he grows with this Michigan State offense. He does have that captain on his chest for a reason. Coming up next, Minnesota. Minnesota's team is kicking themselves because their most reliable player, their kicker, ended up missing two crucial kicks. And I mean, like critical, that led to a gut wrenching loss over North Carolina on Thursday night. And I'm sitting there looking to myself, like, what in the world is going on? Because Max Johnson didn't play the best. PJ Fleck dealing with
Shout
their
out to the 30 people that are in the building right now. My bad.
my PJ Fleck has just been dealing with a whole bunch of stuff happening in the transfer portal with him. So I'm looking at his situation, and I have to honestly just look more at Minnesota's roster and say they have to continue to lean away from heartbreak and embrace the easy things. I don't want them to continue to get haunted by this, bro. I don't want to. That's, that's something that has to change for us. If you're a Minnesota fan, you can't lose to UNC. You can't lose to UNC in gut wrenching fashion. Coming up next, Nebraska. Freshman Fireworks was the star of the show because they won 40-7 against UTEP, and freshman Dylan Raiola didn't look like one out there. He led the Cornhuskers to a dominant performance, scoring 40. And I keep putting emphasis on that because they more than doubled their average from last year. If he continues to look the way he looked and Matt Rule continues to lean on him in ways that he knows and loves, then I can see a beautiful thing on the horizon for Nebraska. Now, when it comes to Nebraska in the Big Ten conversation, I personally think that they can start the season probably as good as 7-0 before they have their first Big Ten test for real. I know Colorado is coming up this week, and it's going to be a test. But the things that I saw from Nebraska was just being disciplined. They didn't beat themselves in matchups like this. So we have to keep our eyes on that one. I want to shout out all the people that's watching right now. You tune in to World of College Football, and we're going through the Big Ten teams. One thought on every single Big Ten teams. 30 people in here. We're more than grateful. Shout out to y'all. Make sure y'all check out thecfbnation.com for the latest. Coming up next, Northwestern has ice in their veins. They have ice in their veins. And I look at this Wildcats team. They are the most feared team if you have to play them in a one-score game. If it's game on the line, fourth quarter, and you're close with Northwestern, you might as well pack your bags, get ready to eat snacks and orange slices on the bus over there crying yourself to sleep tonight because you got a loss. Northwestern is battle tested. They are known for this. They'll need they'll need to shift after all of the turmoil in their past. I feel like I said that in an easy way.
Hey, your camera died. I don't know if you know. Keep going though.
When it comes to Ohio State, OHIO, it was business as usual. 52-6 over Akron. Ryan Day's record with Ohio State now stands at 57-8. The freshman wide receiver. I know Bama fans are probably like, he's not better than my freshman wide receiver. Well, this freshman wide receiver, Jeremiah Smith, made a splash in his debut, going absolutely cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. This man went 2 touchdowns.
Your audio left out. Not sure what's going on.
He ended up being one of the main reasons why I can feel confident about Ohio State moving forward in the future. I can feel comfortable about Ohio State because I know that they have to win the big one against Michigan. We all know that. But if they continue to dominate lesser opponents in this type of fashion, then that is very good. If they continue to play in Big Ten competition and don't fold, that is actually going to be good for them. They have to just continue their winning ways. And when I looked at Ohio State after their win, I said, "Oh, business as usual." Coming up next, Oregon. Big plays wanted from Oregon because do you know Oregon was like top of the nation last year in plays of 30 yards or more? They didn't have a single play that went over 30 yards in this game against Idaho. Idaho, you remember in elementary school they used to be like, well, Oregon felt that way after this game. They known for their firepower, but that firepower wasn't hitting on all cylinders. And ask Ducks fans, they'll probably tell you the same way, and they'll say, "Mo, you're not capping." Dylan Gabriel did have about 380 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he still got busy. However, that big play potential that we know Oregon for, they don't have that right now, and it's very concerning because it was against FCS comp, bro. Coming up next, Penn State. The note is pedal to the metal. Pedal to the metal because they won 34-12 versus West Virginia, and Penn State looks really, really good. They seem to be finding their groove, and they've been hearing us talk about them, how their offense is going to be so stale and so vanilla, and it's not because they wear all white all the time. Nah, they're leaning into their explosive playmakers that they have, and that alone in itself can dictate games and win games for them. I know they had a rain delay that made things very uncomfortable, and it kind of sucked the life out of
Keep
West
talking.
Virginia.
Their offense coordinator and Carlo Nicky.
Anno Nicky, hopefully I said that right. He already dealt with a lot of criticism and like even really uncertainty of what it is that he was going to be in this season and what this offense is going to be. He has to get a handshake, just like Nanton Lynn in USC has to get a handshake after this win, because they alone in themselves show to me that they can keep the pedal to the metal and they can answer questions that were lingering in the offseason. Coming up next, Purdue. They won 49-0, and the Boilermakers beat Indiana State in convincing fashion. Not just because of the score, but Hudson Card, he was out there dealing like a seasoned pro, spreading the ball around, spreading the sugar, as we like to say. And he led the Purdue to his first opening shutout since 2004, people. The Boilermakers, they look like a balanced team, and they ready to make some noise this season. The oldest team in college football, not just for, I'm talking about veterans, I'm talking about oldest program, Rutgers. They played Howard this week. They won 44-7 against Howard. And the game was close in the first half, but they pulled away, led by Manungai the Magician. Kamanungai is must see TV. He also has some help in his running back room, which is pretty loaded. Uh, watch out for Rutgers, bro, because if they continue to navigate throughout this Big Ten waters and they stay with their identity of running the gosh darn football and actually going to their playmakers and leaning on them, like Kamanungai that you see on the screen, they're going to be a tough out that look to be competitive this year in the Big Ten. Coming up next, UCLA. They had to take a trip all the way out to Hawaii. You would think it would be sunshine and rainbows. You saw what I did right there. UCLA opened with a win, but it was not easy by any stretch of the imagination. Speaking of that same theme of things not being easy, they actually have to play Indiana, the team that I just talked to you about that was running the gosh darn football, LSU, fresh off of a loss against USC, and their next couple of weeks are going to be a little testy. Then they got Oregon, who still has some question marks. Those are the next couple of games for the UCLA Bruins. They're going to need to bring their A game each and every week, and we're not going to want to hear any excuses about travel and travel concerns, because it's really going to all be about survival. That's the word. Survival is key. Washington fans, put your dubs up. Put your dubs up. 35-3 versus Weber State. The dog days begin because Washington started their season in style, winning big and showing that they are ready for the new era of Huskies football, even though we might not know much about what that looks like. In their first game, they got busy, spread the ball around. Like I said before, spread the sugar. I'm looking out for Washington just because I feel like we all do. We just don't know what it looks like. They have so much talent that they have lost just over the past year alone. Coaching, and you look at just players. What does Washington look like in this new era of Big Ten, especially after they're coming over in a new expansion? The world is waiting to know. Coming up next, last but not least, Wisconsin. They won 28-14 versus Western Michigan, and questions still linger about Wisconsin because, yeah, they closed the game on a high note. They did. But the reason why is because, listen, they had no play in the entire game that was over 12 yards. Let me just repeat that again for the people that just might have just tuned in to World of College Football, sponsored by DCFB Nation, also sponsored by SeatGeek, where you can get $20 off your purchase if you type in the promo code VCFB Nation on SeatGeek. I said Wisconsin did not have a play longer than 12 yards in this entire game. If I just let that simmer, that stings me in my heart, especially with the love that we have for Wisconsin in our program. They treat CFB Nation with love, and they always do. But we need to keep it honest and keep it a buck with Wisconsin and say collectively as a CFB Nation, Wisconsin, what are you doing? What are you doing? This is not. You can't. I talked to Jalen about this before. Wisconsin, you cannot be in a situation where you want to run the spread, but you don't have the talent to run the spread. I'm gonna let this just sit there and marinate. That is a wrap up of the Big Ten in week 1. because everything is in the books now. We already see hints and signs of what's in store with the Big Ten. So many different ways, shapes, and forms. I'm so excited for Big Ten football in a number of different ways because, listen, bro, this conference is loaded. It has talent from top to bottom. You can't sit here and like look at any team and say, "Oh, well, they shouldn't be a they. You shouldn't take them seriously," or "Hey, Moon, well, Wisconsin, even though they only had a play longer, they didn't have a play longer than 12 yards. Just pull them to the wayside." Nah, like it's gonna be very competitive, and there's a reason why they think that they're the best conference in the whole entire land. Special shout out to y'all tuning in to World of College Football. We are locked and loaded heading into week 2, but we can't go into week 2 without recapping a jam-packed Labor Day kickoff for week 1. When I tell you we back locked and loaded, KT. I got my cam back up now. All right. This week was very difficult for me, bro. It was very difficult. The reason why was because
Angle your camera down for me. I'm gonna go to a picture. Give me a second. Let me go to the
okay.
picture and aim it down. Go ahead now.
So this week was very hard and tough for me because I was idle, so I got a chance to watch nothing but football as much as possible. But the hard part was seeing all of these teams struggle against FCS comp. How many games did you see over the course of this weekend where you said, "Why is this team in the game right now?" Think back with me. I was sitting there, I was tired. I was tired. It was late at night on Saturday night, and I see Arizona playing, and I'm trying to stay up because I want to see Noah Fafita. I want to see Teratoa McMillan ball out. And what do I see to my surprise? Devin Dampier lighting it up. And I said, why is New Mexico in the game right now? Again, I was watching on Thursday night, and I said to myself, why is Western Carolina in the game with NC State? I'm watching the first half of Rutgers game, and I'm like, why is Howard in the game with Rutgers? Do you get my theme? FCS teams are here to play in 2024, and that leads me to this Vibes Diamond segment. There is a team that plays in the great state of Florida this week, and they are the HBCU national champions, reigning, defending, and they take on a team that just put them kids in Florida in the Gators to bed. Moans Vibes Diamonds. If you look up this weekend and you see the score for FAMU versus Miami closer than what you could have anticipated, then think back to me and be like, look, Moan tried to tell me. The reason why I feel like this could be the case is because of this, people. FAMU has a quarterback, Daniel Richardson, that is battle tested and has played a lot of college football. It's not a situation where FAMU is really sneaking up on the team. However, if you get a team that has a quarterback that knows how to make the right decisions, keep in mind I saw him week 0, I should say, for the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge. Daniel Richardson, he's not going to beat themselves. He's not going to put the team out of position. He's not going to be the type to make a boneheaded play. And that's the reason why I have confidence saying that FAMU just might keep this game closer than we are ready to admit. Now, I know there's some time. Miami hosts this game in Coral Gables. But I just think back to all the crazy things that I've seen happen to Miami. And then I think back to all those conversations I had with just Jalen, where he told me, Moon, Miami 7-5, 7-5, 7-5. Could this be the week where Miami, after a week where they're on an absolute high, just struggles a little bit to an FCS team? Because that's
40 in
what
the
the theme
building.
has been over the course of week 1. That's what I like to see on this Vibe Shinamis episode 2 that we have. Yo, we are locked and loaded, bro. Thank y'all for joining the show. We're talking about Labor Day kickoff. And the new AP poll just dropped. So we're gonna get into that soon. Got over 40 plus people in here now. So shout out to each and every single one of y'all. I hope y'all enjoying y'all Labor Day and y'all ready for college football week 2 because it's gonna be jam packed. I'm your host Moon, credential media member, and I get blessed to really be able to travel the college football world with DCFB Nation and be a part of something that's way larger than myself. On this episode, we've already talked about Cam Ward and his Heisman campaign beginning. We talked about one thought about for every single Big Ten team. We've also talked about my Vibe Shadamas take that FAMU is going to continue the stretch of FCS teams putting hands and feet on the big boys. Now let's get into the next segment of the show. This is one thought that I have for every Sunbelt team. Now, the Sunbelt might get pushed off to the wayside, but they are a fun conference that needs a lot more attention. I nicknamed the Fun Belt for that reason because it's a lot of fun. It's a teams from top to bottom that have a lot of mystery and a lot of intrigue. And if you're a college football fan that's out there, my goal is to put you on to more about these teams and conferences and take you around the nation, take you around the world of college football, and just give you some little nuggets and make you care about teams outside of just your favorite team. You know what I mean? Let's take a look down and what happened in the Sun Belt in week 1 because it was many takeaways, stats, and things that you should know. And let's go from top to bottom in alphabetical order. And I'm gonna make sure everybody gets some love. So if you're a fan of the Sun Belt, here we go. App State. The main thing that I took away from App State was home sweet kid because they won 45-24. And App State's offense, they look electric. I mean, Joey Aguilar looked sharp. The crowd came out. It was the third largest crowd that they had in Kid Brewer Stadium history. Like, let that sink in. That's amazing. They showed up in the home opener, ready to rock, and they continue their home field dominance. And I honestly look at App State as a team that should be reckoned with. They have 500 yards, 22 first downs, getting busy. Coming up next, Arkansas State. The Red Wolves are rising because they won 34-20, 34-31 victory over Central Arkansas. But this is where things get a little bit shaky for me. On one side, Arkansas State's quarterback Jalen Rayner looked absolutely magical, almost nearly flawless. He went 24-27 for 314 and a touchdown. Corey Rucker was his go-to target in this matchup, and he hauled in 9 catches for 179 yards and the game-winning score. However, their defense needs some absolute work because Central Arkansas should have not ran the ball for almost 300 yards on them. Yes, Central Arkansas. They won, but there's a lot more left on the plate for the Red Wolves. Coming up next, Coastal Carolina headline: Chance on fire. They won 55-27 in a victory, and they looked absolutely unstoppable. They hit 552 yards of offense. They controlled the clock for 40 minutes, time of possession. They scored in double digits in almost every single quarter, and they set the program record with the most points in the season opener. Coastal is cooking with hot grease. And I'm just gonna go say it. That win against Jacksonville State was impressive to see, even though it was a wet and wild one. Pause. Coming up next, Georgia Southern. Eagle encounter is the nugget that I get from this because they lost 56-45. Georgia Southern made some progressive strides, I will admit. And I'm harsher on them because I stay in Georgia, so I got to keep tabs on all Georgia teams. JC French made his first start. He threw for 322 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he did not throw an interception. That's the point that you need to look at because JC French is trying to get away from a Georgia Southern philosophy that we saw last year, where Georgia Southern just goes fast all the time, but yet they turn the ball over at such a high rate that it makes it life harder for themselves, putting their defense in bad situations. Now let's get to the elephant in the room. Ashton Genty, running back for Boise State, started his Heisman campaign running for 6 touchdowns. He broke the school record in Georgia Southern. That is a problem. So you fix one problem, which is the turnovers, but you have another problem pop up and arise, which is your lack of run defense. If I'm any team in the Big Ten, I'm in any team in the Sun Belt, Fun Belt, then I'm looking at Georgia Southern and I'm saying, run the gosh darn football because they can't stop it. In bright news, they did have Derwin Burgess Jr. He led the team in receiving with 93 yards, and he is their best playmaker on the outside. And I look forward to seeing them continue to get him the ball. Coming up next, Georgia State Panther pushback. They won 24-17. Well, they lost 20. They lost in a dramatic fashion, in my opinion, because they kept the game close. 30 got my scores mixed up. 35 points that they gave up to Georgia Tech in a game at Bobby Dodd Stadium that, to be honest with you, it makes my head hurt because I'm rooting for both schools. I'm rooting for both schools to just do good because it go back to what I said about Georgia. And me being from the state, this is the first time that these teams are actually getting a chance to play. And the fact that it was a whiteout at Bobby Dodd Stadium, I'm getting goosebumps. Like, that's a tough environment to go into where you're in enemy territory and nobody cares. But guess what the Georgia State Panthers did? They gained 360 total yards, my friend. They had 5.2 yards per rush against the Brent Key team that talks about physicality. That's something that you can hang your hat on if you're a Georgia Southern fan. The thing that you have to fix if you're a Georgia Southern fan, 3 for 12 on third down. There's no way that you can convert and be that good on third down. Not be that good on third down and expect to win football games. And the reason why they need to be better, they just got to show more creativity and play calling on third down situations. You can't do the same type of scheme and expect a good team not to adjust. That's what happened against Georgia Tech. I'll look to see what they do when the rest of their season goes on. Coming up next, James Madison. The Dukes dominate in a game that was closer than it might look like on paper. The scoreboard says 30-7. However, James Madison actually was sluggish to begin this game. They found their groove. Amarion Dollison had a 73-yard touchdown that went stupid. However, they got tested by Charlotte to begin, and I think it goes back to the theme that I'm gonna talk about to close the show. But college football doesn't have a preseason like the NFL does. So a lot of times we have to figure out what these teams look like on the fly. For James Madison, we understood that the future is going to look different at quarterback, especially when Alonzo Barnett the third is coming in at the helm, and you don't have Jordan McLeod anymore. But now the sophomore quarterback actually looks like you can get behind him, and they look to be in command this season, especially of this offense. Where a friend of the program, James Madison, that I'm always going to be rooting for. Coming up next, Louisiana. Headline, Cajun cooking. They won 35-14 against Grambling State in a matchup that I consider a rivalry because they're super close and they're in the same state. The Raging Cajuns, they started off hot and never let up. Ben Wooldridge, quarterback, might be the most underrated quarterback in this entire conference. He threw for 308 yards, 3 touchdowns, just dropping them in a bucket. And they also got some splash on defense because they had Caleb Cabote had a pick 6 in this game, and that was a perfect little seasoning on the night. Louisiana, they was grubbing, and they got a dub, like Jameis eating the dubs with seasoned salt on it. Cajuns, raising Cajuns. Coming up next, Marshall. The story that you need to know from Marshall, it really is transfers. It's a transfer takeover from Marshall and the Thunder and Herd. They had 2 quarterbacks, Stoney Earl and Braylon Braxton, that combined for 5 total touchdown passes. That is amazing to see. Marshall is probably one of the teams that's benefiting from the transfer portal the most and is seeing instant success. Elijah Metcalf made an instant impact, scoring 2 touchdowns. Christian Fitzpatrick added 97 yards and a touchdown. The Thunder and Herd, they look good, albeit it was against Stony Brook, and the game was 45-3. But Marshall did look good. Let's talk about another green team. It's a mean green magic. The Sun Belt has a team that is dangerous and, dare I say, one that you do not want to play because this team did not play after halftime. If there's any team in the Sun Belt that knows how to make adjustments, it's North Texas, and it's the North Texas Mean Green. And the reason why I say that is Damon Ward Jr. is a player that you need to know. Damon Ward Jr. He torched the Jaguars secondary, South Alabama, for 12 receptions, 230 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I'm just letting that sink in because I'm like, you're like, what? Yeah, it was bad. And the game, they won. They got a dub. North Texas did 52-38. However, they have to finish strong like this all the time. They have to finish strong. They cannot just rely on just the fact that their offense is so potent. They got to finish strong. Coming up next, a team that almost finished strong, but turnovers beat them in a way that I was heartbroken for. The Old Dominion Monarchs. The headline: the Monarchs missteps. They lost 24-20 against South Carolina Gamecocks, and they had two costly fumbles against South Carolina. Now they played them incredibly tough in a wickedly insane environment, bro. Isaiah Page was a standout. He had 115 yards and a touchdown on the day, and they held Raheem Rocket Sanders, the running back we know and love, to under 100 yards rushing. He only had 90, or less than 90, actually. So if they could continue to just be formidable in the running defense department and just the physicality department, ODU can be a problem for some teams. They got to play East Carolina, especially after East Carolina just beat Norfolk State like that. ODU looking to right the ship. Coming up next, Southern Miss, the guy that made the thumbnail. They lost, and the headline reads "Blanked by the Blue." They lost 31-0 against Kentucky, and they had 0 points in this one. Why you keep mentioning that, Mo? Because this is probably the last time you'll see them score 0 points the rest of the season. So don't get used to it. Dalen Lord Shine, he led the team in tackles on this day. He had a quality interception on the day, and they got Kentucky. A lot of teams are going to struggle with Kentucky. You try to play them against. Yeah, you try to play against Kentucky in college football 25. You can't run the ball on them kids. You try to throw it to the outside, it's just as tough. So we gotta wait to see what the Southern Miss looks like in week 2. Coming up next, Troy. Troy Heartbreak is the headline because they started off fast and ferocious, going up 14-0 over Nevada. However, they didn't finish that way. And the reason why is because Nevada was just all about getting a dub. Now, flashback to week 0. Nevada lost to SMU in week 0 in a game that they definitely want back. So, week 1 was all about righting the ship, and they did that. Troy, they actually lost on a game tying 2-point conversion attempt. That is pain personified. They had 22 first downs, though, and they did rush for 5.3-yard average. Damian Taylor did have over 100 yards rushing, and Devontae Ross had a big game as well. They're going to be tough for Sunbelt competition, but they definitely want to go back into the lab and figure out how they can start fast and finish fast. Texas State coming up next. The Bobcats break through. Jordan McLeod transferred from James Madison, and he ended up stepping into this situation with 3 touchdowns, 238 yards, and Texas State ended up winning in a hard-fought win over Lamar, 34-27. And the thing that you should know for this one is Ishmael Mati, the running back for Texas State, had 158 yards and a touchdown in this matchup. And Joey Holbert, the wide receiver for Texas State, had 2 touchdown scores as well. They got the playmakers to compete with anybody in the Sun Belt. The question is, can they be consistent enough to allow those wins to come? And last but not least, in the Sun Belt, we made it all the way to the U. L M. Headline reads, Vincent's Vision. ULM won 30-14 in a matchup against Jackson State. An FCS team that pushed another FBS program to the brink. Freshman Ahmad Harvey rushed for 103 yards and a touchdown in this matchup, and the ULM Warhawks actually scored 16 unanswered points in this matchup to pull away from Jackson State. The thing that I take away from this matchup is physicality, resilience, and adjustments. This coaching staff has all three. When they are doing things like that, they ain't the only team in Louisiana that's in the FBS that's cooking with some hot grease. Coach Vincent, what are you up to, my guy? That is my takeaways from the Sun Belt, and one thought for every single Sun Belt, Fun Belt team. Clap it up to the Fun Belt. Hey, let's go. Y'all gave me some good football to watch this weekend, and I know Georgia Southern let me down. I know they let me down, but the crowd still showed up, and I'm proud of the student section for still showing up, even though y'all let Ashton Genty run wild. Coming up next on World of College Football. All right, Saturday. I mean, we all was locked and loaded, right? We wake up, we getting ourselves together, going about our morning, and then we feel it. You're like, man, we got college game today again. Like college football is actually here. And then we have a opening, we have like a triple header throughout the day of just game after game that we're looking at on the schedule. Like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be bananas. This is gonna be crazy. And then we get to 12 o'clock. And for a half, it looked like the Georgia versus Clemson game was actually gonna be a crazy one. And then it wasn't. Second half went crazy. My takeaways from the Georgia and Clemson game, I'm gonna keep it really short, simple, and I'm gonna talk to you about what I talked with Jalen yesterday about on College Football Showdown. Nate Frazier went crazy in this game. Carson Beck looked really good, sharp. He's trying to figure out how to play with his new talent that he has, especially since they had a lot of departures. But the key takeaway for me is Clemson. And it's not because you're going to hear me talk about the transfer portal or any of that. Could it be possible that the main problem and issue with Clemson is the fact that they missed on the quarterback position in recruiting? I think the main problem that Clemson has had is coming off the drop off of Deshaun Watson in the championship heights, Trevor Lawrence in the championship heights. Then you had the season of uncertainty with Kelly Bryant, season of uncertainty with DJU. It's now a season of uncertainty with K. Klubnik. We have to put blame on Garrett Riley. We do. We have to put blame on Kate. We have to. Everybody can have their hand out for a share of blame. But I think the problem with Clemson is just the fact they might have whiffed on the quarterback position numerous times, and we're a program that's got that position right over the years. It makes me feel like they had to take a step back in recruiting other areas, like they have in their team. Look at championship teams that we had at Clemson before, and you compare it to this roster that we have right now. You would say that this roster has more holes in it than it did before, because I feel like the emphasis was, well, since we have the quarterback, we can go put more emphasis in the other areas of recruiting. Now it's like the flip flop, and now we have a question like, well, is Cade really that guy? Is he still the 5-star prospect that we know and love, that they had coming out of high school? Well, we already have a season and some change of a sample size from Cade, and I let y'all be the ones to say it. There was only one player that came into a press conference this week that started talking like he was Tim Tebow after Florida lost, talking about you'll get the best version out of me and you're going to be showing up. That only means that you didn't hold yourself accountable. You didn't play like you wanted to. If you watch Cade on Saturday, did you see anything that was impressive for you? Don't worry. Like Cat Williams said, I'll wait. I didn't. So I just say everybody can say transfer portal, transfer, but I was trying to spotlight on another area. I just think it comes down to recruiting and hitting on the position that you need in order to take your program to that next step, which is championship level. And I think Clemson had the harsh reality that they are not a championship program right now. And that's what I have to say about that one. Shout out to the dogs. Y'all made the thumbnail. Go dogs, sick 'em. Woo, 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 woo. Unless you're a Georgia Tech fan that says to hell with Georgia. Coming up next on World of College Football, Coach Fran Brown. I watched his press conference earlier today because Georgia Tech heads to town to take on Syracuse in a game that's going to be probably the game to watch in the ACC this week. This game will mean a lot, but I wanted to hear from Coach Fran this morning to see what he had to say heading into this matchup. And it was the same, chill, buttoned up Fran Brown that keeps it real 100%. But the thing that he said was taking ownership of this loss of the win that they had against Ohio. Now, he said that they struggled early. They were trying to get some kinks. They're trying to fight through some things and figure some things out. Now, if you look at what the media narrative will be, it'll say like, "Hey, well, Syracuse still got the dub and everything like that." But Coach Fran talked about how he expects Georgia Tech to try to come up there and run the football. Everybody knows that. I'm a Georgia Tech supporter, and I know that. So the one thing he wanted to see from his team was the physicality. The physicality improved from last week against Ohio to this week. They started out slow. You cannot start out slow in this world of college football. You can't, because you now get into yourself in a situation where you have the other team playing with confidence and they're in your home building, and the game really shouldn't even be this competitive to begin with. This is not me dismissing OHIO, not state. But this is me just talking about the expectations that we had on Syracuse to enter the season. Now, the one thing that I will leave y'all with is that Coach Fran did take ownership of the performance. He said, "It's all on me. That's all on the head coach. That's on me. I didn't get the guys prepared. It's either you're coaching it or you're allowing it." That's his words. You're coaching it or allowing it. And he said, "I guess I'm allowed it for this week." So he said he was excited to get the practice. So I'll lead you and segue into this one. Georgia Tech versus Syracuse probably is the game to watch in the ACC this week. And I don't think that Syracuse can be in a position where they let themselves get bullied. Let's keep it a buck. They can't get bullied in this week. That is something I'm looking forward to in the ACC. But the headline should read, Fran Brown earned his first win with the Syracuse Orangemen, because he did. They found their groove. Kyle McCord, 23 of 31, 267, 4 touchdown passes. Trey Pena, he had 9 receptions, 89 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day. And then for the player that I know I love the most, Arande Gasson, wide receiver for Syracuse. He had 6 receptions, 102 yards, 1 touchdown. I talked about this game because I hate to report it, but I got a chance to watch it live. Marlo Wax, linebacker for Syracuse, is going to be out, Fran said, for about 6 weeks. So that is a while to be without your premier player on your defense. There's going to be a number of guys that are going to be expected to fulfill that gap in the defense. But 6 weeks, that's the news that I wanted to report from this game coming out for Syracuse as they take on Georgia Tech in this next one. Coming up next on Around the World with Moon. Man, I'll tell you this. There was a game that happened on Saturday that had a lot of people upset and had a lot of people ducking for cover, including myself. I've been a staunch Virginia Tech supporter because if you looked at the writing on the wall, the writing said Virginia Tech is going to be good and damn good. The way Brent Pry is talking, the way that the offense was looking, especially with Kyron Jones coming in, you had two in doing this thing. It looked like everything was going to work in their favor. But guess what? It did not work out like that, my ladies and my gents. Virginia Tech loses in overtime in dramatic fashion on opening week, technically. Bro, Diego Pavia needs his love. He needs his love, and I'm gonna give it to him. He balled out. It was a thrilling season opener, and I just give them credit because they're gonna make my list later. But Vandy is like that. Like, I didn't want to admit it, And even watching the game, it hurt my heart to admit because I have this version of Vandy in my head that's like bottom feeder SEC program. Vandy mid. Vandy mid. That's just what I associate them in my head. However, that's not the case anymore, people. And I really do feel like the quarterback they got, the grit that they play with, the amount of resilience and determination that they play with, like they're gonna make it a problem for any team that has to come to Nashville, even in the midst of them doing construction, or if they're going on the road for Virginia Tech. This is my 2 cents on Virginia Tech, and the reason why I'll just let this sit there. Virginia Tech is best when Virginia Tech is running the football and playing defense. Did Virginia Tech do any of those two things on Saturday? Don't worry, I'll wait. Nope, they did not. And that's the reason why they lost. The Virginia Tech problem is this, my ladies and my gent. Virginia Tech is in a situation where they have a shiny new toy, and because they fell in love with the shiny new toy, they have forgotten about all the old faithfuls that kept them loyal and that held them down throughout this whole time. They got Kyron Jones now and said, "Oh well, I can give him 33 passing attempts," and we know that he has the talent to do that. But yet, you get away from your core philosophy and your DNA as a football team. Your core philosophy is running the gosh darn football and playing hard nosed defense enough to bring out the pail. Y'all know the pail. They got to bring that because they pride themselves on the effort in being a hard hat program. They didn't bring their hard hats against a team in the Commodores that was ready to be upset minded, and they set the season off with a 1-0 pace on the day. Vanderbilt has the firepower. Virginia Tech has the firepower. It was great to see Ali Jennings go crazy. We've been staunch supporters of Ali Jennings, so it was great to see that pop off. It was great to see just Virginia Tech and get the running game going towards the end. But that Virginia Tech defense didn't look like we expected them to. So we got to give credit to Vandy, and we have to raise them in our minds as not this bottom feeder program in the SEC anymore. With that formula and philosophy, they could even shock some of these SEC teams that got to play this year. That's my little news and notes and tidbit for the Vandy and Virginia Tech game. Vandy, just lean on your identity, man. Virginia Tech, get back to your identity. I think everybody and everything will be straight. We got a special guest about to come up on the show on World of College Football to break down the AP poll because it just dropped. And as you can see it on the bottom, there's a lot of movers and shakers in the AP poll. I'm about to be joined by the governor of college football himself, Lever KT, CEO of the CFB Nation, one of my best friends and brothers in the whole entire world, and also a staunch Virginia Tech supporter. Let's bring my guy in and welcome him to the world of college football. KT, how you doing today, my good sir?
I'm doing all right, bro. Just all right, I guess.
Listen, I know I brought you in a kind of unchy part of the show right after we talked about Virginia Tech.
For sure.
But I wanted to get your first thoughts on that first before we go into the AP poll. Disappointing can't even say it enough.
No, disappointing can't say it enough. One of the key metrics that I love, doesn't love it as much, but there's a metric that he loved that I can't stand, which is average depth of throw. It's a stupid stat. But they've returned 85% of their production. You were talking about a team earlier, and you're talking about how they were one of the older teams in the nation. If you are an older teams tend to know how to finish games a little bit better. They were able to bring back their coordinators. They was able to bring back a bulk of their team. So in the moment where they played like crap, and it wasn't that, oh my goodness, because we do this thing, and I've said this before, I say it again. I hate week 0 and week 1 of the college football season because NFL isn't on. I'm so glad NFL is coming back. So the people who are commenting on the sport that we love so much can go talk about fantasy and go talk about the NFL. That way we could talk about the game we love. So, and seeing this game, Vandy earned this game more than Georgia Tech lost this game. A lot of times we don't like to give credit to the team, but hey, Vandy deserved that win. And we look at this, and I'm going to caution some people. There will
Oh
not
gosh,
be
what's he about to tell
one.
me?
There will not be one undefeated team in the ACC.
I agree with you there. I agree. There's not gonna be no undefeated team in ACC.
Everybody who is hating on Florida State right now, I'm gonna tell you this: when you lose your offensive coordinator Alex Atkins, he is their play caller.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you see a difference in Florida State when Alex Atkins is back off a suspension. Everybody wants to play DJ, you need to get a job. DJ this, DJ that. You guys don't know ball. You don't know ball. Shut the hell up. Look at some of these
Talk,
plays
governor.
and so I guess he got to DJ got to go catch the ball for the damn tight end too, huh? He's dropping a lot of passes. Some of this on DJ. Yes, I know he had the touchdown right before halftime back in the end zone.
Yeah.
He's got to make that throw. Some of this is play calling, but some of this is winning the war of attrition on the line of scrimmage. A lot of it is that. You allow Georgia Tech to run through you. You allow Boston College to run through you. Where's the stud defensive line at? But everybody wants to talk about DJ. I'm telling you, Florida State fans, I even seen one that was talking about he going to eat dog poop out of a cup and then he disappeared and people are allowed to say, we want to see you eat dog poop out of... Grow up, bro. Please grow up. And that's just him. I'm talking about everybody else needs to grow up as well. Seriously. Florida State still has a chance, believe it or not. And I know, they're 0-2. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Keep that same energy when they put some string of games together. Mike Norvell is the head coach. Yes, can Mike Norvell call plays? Absolutely. But it's different when, Lincoln Riley is an outlier. He's an anomaly. There's not a lot of people who can head coach and call plays. There's just not a lot of people do it. Can Mike Norvell do it? Absolutely. But what should he be doing? Because you got to think about it. When you just a head coach, you think of everything in totality. Right. He made an emotional decision going forward at their own 45 because
that's all emotion. You deserve that L. He got to hold that L.
It was just so much emotion. So, but getting back to Virginia Tech and getting back to all the teams in ACC, Miami looks phenomenal. A lot of people are saying they look like the juggernaut. Let the season play out. I caution everybody to say let the season play out. Nobody in this conference will be undefeated. There will be somebody playing for this championship with 3 losses. I guarantee you.
It has to happen, because just the schedule just works out in that. It just works out that way because it's just absolute mayhem this year. And for ACC specifically, Virginia Tech, they host Georgia Tech,
for the
that game.
Bowl.
Tecmo Bowl. That game is gonna come down. Like a lot of these teams have to play each other, so you might think that it's all going to be great right now, and I just don't see it happening in a way. And I've been one of those people that have been saying 2 things can be true. So I'll tell you this: Cam Ward did look like he was the best player probably in the nation. There's Josh Berry out there Milrow.
Right. Shout to Kalen DeBoer, bro.
But he did look like he's him. On that same hand, there's no team in college football that's perfect, and each team has a deficiency, and it just takes a situation where it can play out. And then number 3 is that Florida is just worse than we could have anticipated.
I hate to be the guy that says, hey, that might have been a must-win game. You're looking at their schedule, toughest schedule I think I've seen in the last 5 to 7 years, easily. I don't even think it's a debate. And you look at that game and you look at the product that was on the field, and it's is this why Florida ran away from Miami for so long? Call it what you want. I know y'all want to say, well, no, it was a disagreement in the home and away games. Y'all didn't want it. No smoke when they were the U. And Miami looked really good and Florida looked really bad. Who do I feel bad for in this situation? Billy Napier. But then I also think about coaches who, were at that program or various programs who I think we kind of jumped the jump ship a little bit too soon. Will Muschamp is
Yeah,
probably one of those guys. Bo Pelini, when he
that's
was at
one.
Nebraska, he was one of
Mhm.
those guys. I think he had won like something like 75% of their game. And then you think about some of the hardships Nebraska had after Bo Pelini left. Scott Frost, are we even going to mention him? 2022 is just one of
Oh
those
man, that's a
in my
whole
mind.
entire debacle.
That's a whole nother discussion. So you look at him; he's done a great job recruiting, but we just haven't seen the play on the field. And I think the all ball coach Steve Spurrier said something that was so prominent, and this was over the summer. And a lot of times people say stuff, and you know how we are. We're Aries, so a lot of time we're trying to get the deeper meaning. Like, how
Mhm.
is this person trying to articulate a deeper meaning? Sometimes things are at face value, and I think that's at times why you and I
You
struggle
just
in
gotta take it.
relationships, because sometimes things are at face value. But I want to find what was the articulation of the deeper meaning. Steve Spurrier
Mhm.
said, I believe the program is okay, but Billy Napier needs to tidy up on some things. What do you mean, bro? What do you really mean when you say tidy up on some things? Like, is he not organized? Like, are you
Mm.
sitting at the practices up there chilling with the AD, and the practices are kind of is
Now we
scatterbrained?
talking.
Right. What is it he needs to tidy up on? Steve Spurrier is just one of the greatest minds of this sport, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Love him or hate him, he's just a fantabulous mind. A lot of people remember him for what he didn't do in the NFL, or didn't accomplish at South Carolina. But you got to give that man his flowers, and he played it at a high level as well. So when he say tidy up on some things, I was really trying to figure out, Steve Spurrier, what are you trying to articulate? What are you telling me that it's like a decoded message and I'm not quite understanding?
It's
So
the
that's
same thing what we talked about with Nick Saban, because Nick
for
Saban had
sure.
that message talking about USC. Watch out for
Right,
USC this year. And we
right,
were like, wait a minute, Nick,
like
what are you talking about, my
it's
dog?
it's like
Like
it's like that moment you like, what? Like, you talking about the USC that
USC.
should be in the top 25? And I'm talking to Jalen, and I'm talking to you. I'm like, why Nick Saban talking about watch out for USC this year? What don't he know that I don't know? Because I look at some of these Pac-12 teams, and I think the key of them being able to translate is you go from a conference that plays sexy ball to a conference
Yeah.
that you better bring your lunch pail and your hard hat, and you better be prepared to win the ugly game. So seeing
Mhm.
USC winning in a facet, and everybody was just so big. Oh, Oregon only put up 28 points. Oregon only played up 28 points. The defense played pretty good. It's
Yeah.
interesting to see what Tasha Poy has in his back pocket this year. Dylan
Mhm.
Gabriel, I know a lot of people don't like him, and a lot of people didn't like this comment when I said it. I think he might be more successful in this offense than Bo Nix might have been. I think he might have taken this team. I'm not saying he's a better player. A lot of people
They
miss my
take that
messages. Yeah, they're
and
taking what I said for face value
say,
instead
oh
of
well,
trying to
he's
figure out the
better than Bo.
articulation. Right.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's better than Bo, but uh, can he get this team to a college football playoff? Of course, it's 4 teams, 12 teams, but that's the guy I pegged to win the Heisman this year, and I'm not backing down from that. I think Bo Nix will win the Heisman this year. If Oregon would have lost, I would have had a field day. That's
I
crazy.
know
So
he
you,
would have had a field day. He would have
you
been over here. He first off, Steve's would have caught the worst of it.
oh yeah,
He would
well,
have caught the worst
especially
of it.
if Steve trolled him first. So you
Yeah.
want me to read off the top 25? You gonna read off the top 25? How you
Now
gonna
I
do it?
got you. I'll read out the top
Okay,
25. Special shout out to
okay.
everybody that's tuning in. Word of College Football. I got the governor with me, Governor of College Football on YouTube. Also, you can follow at Leverage KT on Twitter to connect with the governor and hear more of his text insight, college football showdown, as well on dcfbnation.com to hear him behind the scenes breaking down college football. The AP released their top 25 polls. People, are you ready to get started? World of College Football episode 2 breaks down like this.
Great show,
Coming up,
by the way. I'm
thank you, my
loving, I'm
guy.
loving it. I'm loving the show. You're doing a fantastic job. You're steadily holding people in here. It's beautiful to see.
Thank you, bro. Should we do from 25 to 1? Or should we
I,
do from
typically I'm
I'm
the
all right.
host. I get the easy part, bro.
All
So
right,
it's
I
up
got
to
you.
you, bro.
Coming up at number 25, the team that got beaten up to a bloody pulp week 1, Clemson. Clemson's coming in at 25, folks. Coming up at 24, he made episode number 1 because I said Casey Concepcion needed to be the savior in order for NC State to escape Western Carolina, and NC State ended up being number 24. 23, The team, GT. First top 25 appearance in what, 9 years? Yeah, that is beautiful. Louisville, they put up points galore. They come up at 22. Iowa wasn't in the top 25 in the preseason. They are now 21. Arizona, some people may say they struggle. I'm one of those people that said that they struggle, but they still are number 20 in the top 25 polls. AP decided to have Kansas at number 19, LSU at number 18. 17 is held by Kansas State and the Wildcats. 16 is Oklahoma State and the Cowboys. Now let's get rapid fire because I know y'all want to hear the rest. 15, Oklahoma. 14, Tennessee and Nico. 13, USC and the Trojans. 12, Miami Hurricanes. 11, Utah Utes. Top 10, break it down for me, Moon. Well, I got you. 10, Michigan. 9, Missouri. The Nittany Lions at number 8. Oregon and the Ducks are 7. 6, KT's favorite team that's got winning the college football playoff national championship.
The Oregon overreaction is crazy, bro. I'm just laughing, yo. And the AP poll do this every year, bro. Like I'm seeing my Miami jump, and Miami deserves to jump up. Oregon deserves to go down.
They jumped down. They went to number 7. Ole Miss is number 6. Then top 5. Top five. Notre Dame, number 5. Alabama, Milrow. Number 4.
Shout out to the guy.
3, Texas. Ohio State, OH. You finished the rest. Number 2. And number 1. Why are you doing that, Moon? Go ahead and say their name. What you say it louder, Moon? The Georgia Bulldogs, number 1 team in the nation, according to the AP Top 25. There, you said it. I said it, bro. Why they being like that? Cause I'm a Georgia Tech supporter.
Hey, you do a great job. You do a great job with the work you do for Georgia Tech. You do a great job with the work you do for the website as well. You put out an astronomical amount of content out this week, and what you do on the back end for us as far as getting us credentialed. Y'all wear chains, I wear credentials.
Hey.
So yeah, bro. I definitely appreciate you, and I know the team appreciates you as well.
I appreciate y'all too, man. And shout out to everybody that's been holding in the show. We got a little bit longer. We got a special guest in the building, so we make adjustments. But what's your immediate reaction to this top 25 poll? And I'll start out by saying, please don't hold back. I know you got to because you got the show later. If you don't know, shameless plug for Overreaction Monday.
On a Tuesday. So
all right, keep it real with me.
So my initial reaction to the AP poll is the Associated Press is actually doing a better job of their ranking system, because we see the patented 2022. I always go back to 2022. Florida beats Utah barely in the opener. They go from not ranked to 12. They went from not ranked to 12. So I think they're doing a little bit better. Some of the things that I would have liked to saw, I would like to say, seeing Oregon State put. Shout out to Marcus Freeman and the Fighting Irish. They went down Cal Field, College Station. They was able to get a big win. I still would have liked to see them stay put. I would like to see a lot of teams in that top 6 or 7 range freeze. Don't move. We don't,
because you don't want us to overreact to the top.
Yeah,
10, let's just say.
Yeah, it's our job to overreact. It's not the Associated Press job to overreact. Now, there's things they did on the back half that I love. I love our moving up, having Tech in there. I think Tech's deserve their spot. So it's not as bad as a lot of people think. I don't like Ole Miss going down. Because, hey, if you don't know, if you've been hiding under a rock, I think Ole Miss is going to win the national championship this year.
They scored 73 points.
I think this year will be dedicated to Monty Kiffin. So I think overall, AP, if I had to give them a grade, typically it's between a D minus, maybe a C. This one, I actually give them a B. I just thought that some of those top 7 or 8 teams, keep them put. Move the teams that deserve to move. Florida State deserves to get booted out. Clemson
Yeah. They
deserved got
deserve to get
booted
booted
out,
out. I
but they
don't like
kept
them
them in
being
a
nice.
they kept them in the top 25, but they were deserving to get booted out. And I'll say this about Clemson. K Klubnik, we're going to see how the rest of this year go. It's one game. It's a long
Mhm.
season. You all can still win the ACC, and hopefully we can see this Garrett Riley offense produce like a Garrett Riley offense is supposed to
What are
produce.
you about to tell me,
But
bro?
but at the end of this year, K Klubnik, they are playing with you. Like you weren't the combined number one recruit coming out of that class. And now they got you looking like hot garbage. If I'm you, I'm monitoring what Will Howard is doing in Ohio State. Is he going to go pro? I'm monitoring a whole bunch of other situations with teams that can do one or two things. Put you in a system that's going to help you improve your draft stock. Also put you in a system that would help you get close to winning some type of national championship. So it's like that
Okay.
win now to win later type situation. How do you
I
feel about
can't
that?
be. I cannot. As much. I'm going through it over here.
Right, because
It's scary.
Clemson's a friend of the family, so of course.
Bro. I'm going through it. But I cannot be mad at you for saying that. Because while I do think that there'll be no team that will be able to show, or no community slash fan base that will be able to show Cade, the Klubnik, the
Mhm,
love that he gets at Clemson right now.
mhm, mhm,
Um, I guess the painful thing will be that you came and they are down with you after losing 4 games early this last year,
mhm,
and go through this season. If he leaves, it's like, dang, we'll never get a chance to see what could have happened, because we saw it all play out with Deshaun. We saw it all play out with Trev. We
Trevor Lawrence,
saw it
yeah.
all play out. So that'll be the hard part. But I mean, I would, hello, Ohio State. Is
Yeah, I
Will
mean, but
Howard going to the league?
when have they gotten like this, other than the year that kind of like DJU was kind of there, and then the year that DJU and Cabe Klubnik, even though DJU got most of the snaps towards the end of the year, it started to slowly become Cabe Klubnik's team. I mean, we have to go back, and even Taj Boyd was able to put up, in some regard, better numbers. So I think this is unprecedented. We're looking at a Clemson team that I think Dabo wants so badly for things to work his way. He wanted to be, hey, I want to get these
Yeah,
guys, highest graduation rate of a football team in the country. They're number one. Clemson get these guys. They get these guys not only ready for the next level for the gentlemen that are going to play in the NFL, they also prepare these dudes for life. We're down there
agreed.
for spring games. We're down there for the games. We see a plethora of former players down there all the time. You see the Shaq Lawsons. You see the Brian Breezes. You see so many players that just come back
Come
and
back,
pour
man.
love and
Mhm.
into it. Like you said, that community that they have. So I get what Dabo is trying to do. But listen, Tej Johnson was out there to get. I'm sorry, not Tej Johnson. Evan Stewart was out there to get. Kids that is do you think Clemson not do they not have the money for portal players?
I would say that no, not to the level that I
Like,
feel like
I
we
mean,
might think that they got.
yeah, even a
But if you're
Julian
not,
Fleming, something could have helped their roster via the portal if they could have just got a few more pass catchers.
I got something that can help their roster.
What's that?
Play your players. Why are you not letting TJ get on the field? Why is Bryant Wesco not on the field? Why is Tyler Brown not in the game? Like, what are y'all doing? That literally
That's
bro.
nasty.
That literally upset me so much, man. I got stock in Clemson. Dabo said if there's any time to buy stock on Clemson, buy it now. Well, he's capping, because you can't not
Yeah,
say
who's
that
capping
and
more,
then
him or Aiden
choose not.
Styles?
Bro, you
And
can't
they
say
both
that
were
and then
capping.
choose not to play TJ, not to play Tyler, not to play Sammy Brown. Like, what?
That's crazy.
That's the part that frustrates me more than the transfer portal. And I digress. My biggest takeaway from the AP poll is why does the AP continue to just dismiss Ole Miss? Ole Miss put up 73 points, dog. Let that sink in. I understand Arky put up 70. I understand. But you look at
That
the
was
way they
easy.
did it, Ole Miss should get way more love than what they get in. Alabama fans, I'm sorry. Moon is sorry. Okay. But what y'all did to Western Kentucky is not more impressive than what Notre Dame did in Texas A&M. I am sorry that Ryan Williams does
Mm.
not look like a 17-year-old and does not play like one either. But let's just be real. Can y'all look yourself and look me in the face right now with the governor here right beside me and tell me that Texas A&M and what they had to deal with Notre Dame is a better thing than what Alabama just did? I can't, bro. See, that's the little things that be making me upset. Like those little things. And if it was up to me, I would take your approach and say nobody moves a muscle
Yeah, yeah,
until
that's
what
what I meant.
4 weeks in the season.
Yeah, give us
Nobody moves a muscle.
some like a huge upset or something like that. The top seven, top eight or nine, really for my money, the top 10 shouldn't move. But Penn State
Especially since there's no
really
preseason. There's
exactly.
no preseason. There's no. You can't go scrimmage another team.
Hmm.
You can't like I wish we could have it like that. We could do a 7-on-7 tournament throughout the whole world college football and see how if you really get busy in the off season. There is no
Facts,
off season, but you know,
right? It's
but we
just
don't
college
got that.
football is just it's so antiquated in some of its beliefs and some of the antiquated things. I do like some of it, of course. I don't like, but Penn State really impressed me this week to march into Morgantown to win in the
Yes.
fashion that they did. You shouted out Anocado Nicky earlier. Uh, I I like Drew Alar. I think
I
he's a
like
big
that.
game player.
I like
But
that win.
mhm.
I'm just keeping it a book. I like that win more than I like the Furman win for Ole Miss. I like that win more than I like
But
the Oregon the whatever you want to call it struggle win
right,
versus you know I like it better than Western Kentucky and Alabama. I like it better
mhm.
than what Texas did and Archie Manning out here with some different type of mojo and juice. I like it. No, I'm just saying, like, just for like a competitive because West Virginia is a tough place to play, and that Penn
Right.
State saw, if anything, AP move them up higher. Like,
Uh,
that's what
uh,
I.
uh, agreed. Agreed. Even though, like I said, I think the top 10 should have kind of stayed still. Let's get a couple weeks
Yeah.
of data. As long as it's not a phenomenal upset, for the most
Yes.
part, let's let this thing progress.
Honorable mentions. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. I don't think Clemson should be in the top 25.
Okay. Who would you
I
replace him
don't
with?
think NC State should be in the top 25.
Whoa.
I,
Those are fighting words.
yep.
Those are fighting words.
Georgia Tech should be higher.
You high
Um,
you
I,
high on
I would put
Tennessee,
them.
right?
Yeah, I'm high on Tennessee.
You high on
Tennessee should be
Tennessee?
higher.
Okay.
I'm Rocky Top
I'm gonna
fans,
tell you this.
man.
I'm gonna tell you this. And I'm high on Tennessee too.
Yeah,
But in Charlotte, North Carolina, I'm telling you,
don't.
as bad as NC State played against Western Carolina, they can beat Tennessee. I'm telling you right now, they
Can't
can
they
beat
can't.
Tennessee. They can beat Tennessee.
Tennessee does not have anybody on their roster right now that can guard KC Concepcion.
No, no. I would on the back end, I would agree with that. Of course, they should be able to get pressure on Grayson McCall, of course. But what surprised me about that NC State game more than anything was defensively. They're typically sound, very sound defensively. They weren't as
And
sound
they
as they
just
needed to
was
be in
not
that first half.
that.
Yeah,
Like Western Carolina was scheming them boys up.
they were. They were.
And that was a reason why we'll get to them a little bit later,
Mhm.
Western Carolina. But I know we talked about the AP poll a little bit of time. I know you gotta get back into your bag later on tonight. You're gonna get your full
Mhm.
reaction to the AP
For
poll.
sure. For sure.
But yeah, let everybody know where they can find you at. And shout out yourself too, because I appreciate you coming on in the show episode
No
too.
doubt. Hey, no doubt, man. I love what you're doing, bro. But yeah, I'm the governor of college football, man. CEO of the CFB Nation, man. We're one of the fastest growing college football platforms in the world, and Listen, man, we looking for people that want to create content. If you don't want your producers all up in the video, it's like, nah.
You started that same barbecue from across the street where they give you more sauce when they give you meat. Then bring your down
But
to
seriously,
CFB
man,
Nation, Slim.
if you guys are trying to get that, y'all trying to get the games, you guys want to write articles, hit me up, hit Moon up, and you know what, man. But that's the game, man. Moon, I appreciate you having me on, brother.
I appreciate you too, Governor. Clap it up for the governor. Yes, sir. All right, bro. Coming up next in the show. I know we're pushing on time right now. We gotta get some things out of here. Moan's most surprising. These are the teams or players that surprised me the most. I know. Shout out to Josh Pay. Doing a lot of great work for college football. Can't thank you enough. Especially with you going independent now. Can't tell me nothing, right? But he got a JP poll, and I wanted to do something similar. I'm not gonna make an actual poll, but I'm gonna have like every week. I'm gonna have a most surprising in the list of players or teams that I think should be number one. You ready, Governor? All right. Coming up, I don't think there's really an order, but I wanted to give my most surprising teams. Number one, Vandy. Vandy looks damn good, bro. And this past weekend showcased the unpredictability of college football and also the unpredictability of teams after so long of not seeing them. The lasting memory we had in Vandy last year was just heartbreak. Setting the season 1-0, doing it against a team that's getting all this hype in the offseason. Vandy coming in number one. Most impressive number two, Boise State. I mean, look, you have leading up to the game, you name Maddox Madsen as a starting quarterback, and you have that be the controversy because Nelson is no longer the starter in that conversation anymore. And then you march into the prettiest little stadium in America and put up a school record of 6 touchdowns rushing by the hands of Ashton Genty. Who was stopping Boise State from making it to a college football playoff berth? Let's be real. If nobody can stop the run, then don't even put your hand up like you can be a person to knock them off. And I'm talking about the people on their schedule. Coming up number 3 on most impressive from Moon, USC. USC and what they did on Sunday night is really a thing of beauty. Nick Saban came out and said, "Man, make sure you watch out for USC." We was like, "What are you talking about, old timer? What are you talking about?" And then we saw it with our own eyes. The defense led by DC Lynn, aggressive. That's exactly what we love to see. Like they made LSU be the same old LSU, the same old LSU that makes the mistakes and doesn't doesn't capitalize in the right situations. And usually we're always equating USC as that team. But it's like we can't make them the butt of the joke to leave off of USC. I ain't gonna hold you, bro. I was nervous when I saw that trailer for what USC dropped on social media with the intro for the season. That was A+, 100%. That would make a Moon's top tier list 100% of the time. But I was nervous. I said, bro, they can't put out something so fire and then get smacked by LSU like this because we're not gonna be able to watch this video the same. And lo and behold, USC and the Trojans ended up putting in work on Sunday night. Shout out to them. And then coming up at number 5 and most deserving, I'm gonna give this one to a team that didn't get a win, but they definitely, uh, well, number 4. I skipped one. I was so excited about the next one. Really, number 4 is all ACC teams that are not suing the ACC. Jim Phillips is sitting back with his legs kicked up, with a cigar in his mouth, puffing and he's just enjoying this right now because the team that's been giving him the most headache. You start with them first. Florida State, the crybabies that they are. after all season whining that they got left out of the college football playoff. And all season talking about, well, you can't count that game against Georgia because we didn't even play anyways. Then to go and start the season in the way that they did, Jim Phillips is sitting back and I mean laughing. He said, hey, see what happens when you go against the family? See what happens when you go against your family? Jim Phillips. Jim Phillips. Hey, you and all the ACC teams that's on your side, y'all number 4 for most impressive. Number 5 is a team that I know and love after week 1. Western Carolina did not get a win in their game against NC State, but they showed me that they are a team that should be paid attention to more closely because they are like they showcase grit, adjustments, scheme, flash, explosiveness, like clutch plays on defense. Like they gave me a little bit of everything. The only thing I wish that I got a little bit more of was just taking away the savior for NC State's program and not letting him get the ball. KC Concepcion. Like, they would have did that, they probably would have ended up as number 1 and not Vandy. But Western Carolina makes the list for most impressive just because they had NC State on the ropes, bro. They had them on the ropes. Honorable mentions, North Dakota State could have made the list, but if you let Travis Hunter do out all those things that deserve him to get drug tested, I don't know if you can make the list, Slim. Their quarterback is fired, though, Cam Miller. And another honorable mention that could have made the list easily is Jalen Milroe. The world of Moon in the world of college football continues to talk about the next segment. I know we're getting deeper into the show. We're almost out of here. Nico, I couldn't end the show without talking about the Volunteers and Nico and what he did. I mean, Ia Maliava, that's how you say it? I think I got close. See, I'm getting better, right? The more times, the more you
I
try
think you nailed it. I think you nailed it.
Ia Maliava. Come on, this kid's fluid now. Listen, this game was not close by any stretch of the imagination. Chattanooga did not have a chance. Nico put the ball exactly where he needed to, and he looked damn good. Dylan Sampson looked great too. They went on a scoring spree and they score points in bunches. This offense is very hard to prepare for because of alignments. They spread you out so far and try to cover every single blade of grass that they can just hit you in the mouth in the middle, just running. And now you don't know what to stop. Chattanooga, let's take a moment of silence for Chattanooga. Thank you. Because they need it. Because that, I don't know what to tell them. Chattanooga after that performance. If I have to give something of positive note, I mean, at least the kicker was perfect. I mean, like, but I don't know what to say for Chattanooga because it doesn't get easier at all. It really doesn't. But Nico, he put on the clinic. He did exactly what he needed to do. He made it look effortless. Dylan Sampson did exactly what he needed to do. Dante Thornton Jr., the wide receiver, he went absolutely crazy. And as far as Heupel, I mean, it was good to see Heupel like loosen up a little bit. And I know the victory was super dominant for Tennessee, but they already have such a high standard compared to the rest of just like the SEC. If you look at like the Mississippi States of the world, the Vandy's of the world, Kentucky's of the world, versus where Tennessee is, they want to be looked at in the upper echelon of the SEC and have respect put on their name. And if you're Rocky Top, I got chills watching Rocky Top run out on the field and do their traditions and pageantry that we know and love them for. But I mean, they could be a fun, invigorating, sneaky SEC team that could wind up making life miserable for one of these juggernauts if you catch them slipping on the wrong day simply because Nico Iamaleava and Dylan Sampson and Josh Heupel's system that they have in place at beautiful Rocky Top is one that You can try to prepare for as much as you possibly can, but until you face it, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. Yes, sir. That's my takeaway. I mean, they got the win. It was. I don't even want to say the final score because it was bad, but yeah, that's what you need to know about Nico. Coming up next, in Around the World with Moon, there was a game that happened on Friday night that was probably one of the most underrated contests, and you really need to know. I was talking to Jalen in College Football Showdown yesterday, and we said, man, TCU and Stanford are both either really bad or they're both either both bowl eligible because that matchup was just it was fun, it was crazy, it was wacky, it made exactly why I love college football. Like it reminded me of the beauty and the pageantry of college football. And Stanford ended up falling 34-27 against TCU. I just tell Stanford fans like this: tough times don't last always, and the sunshine comes in the morning. If you're a Stanford fan, y'all have endured your fair share of just tumultuous times over the last recent years. Y'all will have won less than 4 games in what each of the last 5 seasons. 4-2 since during the COVID stretch where fans weren't in the stadiums. But ever since Troy Taylor has taken over this Stanford program, it seems like his time at Sacramento State served him great because he's trying to bring over a winning history back to Stanford. And it's a deeply rooted winning history. If you go back to it, I mean, if you just looked at them from the offseason, we had high expectations for Stanford because they were returning 85% of their production. That is a lot in 2024. They had a top 40 recruiting class that had 12 players that were coming in impact positions right now. And Stanford's first conference change since 1959 had excitement through the roof because they're now in the ACC. And they're trying to write the new chapter of what it looks like in this conference. And Paulo Otto was rocking for this game against TCU. TCU, on the other hand, was trying to erase the memory of a 5-7 season fresh after the national championship debacle against Georgia. And the lasting memory that we have of the Horny Frogs in 2023 was just controversy because they shouldn't be 5-7. But this game was absolutely crazy from start to finish. Both offenses were clicking at from early. There was a lot of controversy on the first drive of the game for TCU because they just plagued themselves with penalties. In fact, every time it seemed like TCU was doing something great, it seemed like a penalty came out of nowhere, or they would beat themselves up by just having a mistake. And you look at Sonny Dykes' team, like they really had to just bow their necks towards the end of this game and lean on what makes them special. Their wide receivers. They had 3 wide receivers that you should know about: JP Richardson, Jack Beck, and Savion Williams. Those 3 guys give Josh Hoover, quarterback for TCU, a plethora of guys to choose from. Those 3 guys can make life a living hell for anybody in the Big 12. There's nobody that's exempt from that. Savion Williams, JP Richardson, and
We hit 50 for the
Jack
first
Beck.
time.
Thank you. Thank God. It's hard going to be a nightmare to cover them. The Cardinals offense, though, they had to lean on their backup guy to get the job done in this matchup because Ashton Daniels, he left a lot to be desired in this matchup. When it comes to just Stanford altogether, the things you need to know heading out of this game, their wide receivers, I still have question marks on. Alec Ayomaner, who is a guy that we know, friend of the network. We saw him at ACC kickoff. He was quiet and pretty much held in check for the majority of this game until the end, and that's when he started going off. You can't have that be the case if you're going to be Stanford and try to be successful. Christian McCaffrey is not walking out of that door and come back and try to save you. Like, let's be real. Like, we have to be able to create a new identity for our team. Why not have that be, hey, we have a stud in the wide receiver room. Let's just trust him. Let's just trust him. That's not taking credit away from Ishmael CC, who had a touchdown in the game. That's not taking away from Jackson Harris, who had a touchdown in the game. That's just saying that Alec Ayamaner is him. Lean on him. That's all I'll say. As far as TCU, them boys is cooking. The only team that could beat TCU is a team that feels like they can literally be 8 win program, or they could be another 4 to 5 win program. It just depends on what type of TCU shows up today. JP Richardson, 6 receptions, 107 yards. Savion Williams, 11 catches. Yes. He had just under 100 yards, but he also had a touchdown early in the game that was just beautiful. Josh Hoover, 353 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had a rushing touchdown on the day. The reason why I mentioned both of these teams is because they have kind of similar trajectories right now. Stanford making his first appearance since the 1950s in a new conference with the ACC. We don't know what kind of Stanford team we're going to get, led by the guy Colin Wright at linebacker, who had 8 tackles, 5 solo. And then TCU, who went 5-7 last year in the Big 12, and they're kind of in the middle of the pack. We don't know really what to put them. I rank TCU in my rankings for preseason as like the number 5th or 6th team, because I was looking at the good side of TCU and seeing the good side of TCU is like, man, they wide receivers is tough to stop, bro. The way they play aggressive on defense is just a nightmare for teams. They had Ashton Daniels out there running for his life the entire game, all for 60 minutes of it. That they had the ball, yes. So it's like I can see TCU, but until TCU decides that they want to be disciplined as a program, then that's when I'll actually take them seriously enough to look at them in the proper lens, as you could say. But mighty Stanford loses to TCU 34-27 in a wild and wacky Friday night game. That was one that really helped us really transition into Saturday, especially with all the stuff that was going on Saturday. So that's what you need to know from that game. And we made it, people. We made it to the end of the show. I only have some final thoughts and closing remarks. Let's see. One, I think more people need to watch Sunbelt football. It doesn't get watched enough. And there's some playmakers all throughout that conference that just need more light and need more spotlight. So I'll start off with that first. Number 2, special shout out to y'all for watching, because it's the first time we had 50 people in the chat at the same time. So shout out to y'all. With the show, I want to be able to keep y'all plugged in for all the world of college football as much as I possibly can. So I appreciate that y'all appreciate it, you know. For more of our content, all you got to do is go to thecfbnation.com to find out more in the college football world and stay plugged in and stay up to date. Last but not least, if you use the promo code TheCFBNation, you can get blessed by our sponsors, SeatGeek. Use that promo code TheCFBNation. You can get $20 off your purchase. And I know it can help somebody out there, especially with college football games going on aplenty. Who doesn't like to save some money? I know I do. For me, Moon, the way we used to ever do it in college football, in the world, there is, or thereof, as you would say. Episode 2, where we talked about Ken Ward for Heisman, one thought for every Sunbelt Big Ten team, was joined by the governor of college football, talked about the AP poll, talked about Clemson and what needs to change. We talked about quite a bit, my friend. Make sure you hit that like button so it can help get into the algorithm so more people can find the show. Leave a comment and let me know how you feel about the episode. Your interaction is greatly appreciated. That's a great way to say that, Moon. And then 3, just stay wavy, my friend. Appreciate y'all. Until next time, we out.